think I'm going to call the meeting to order if I could. And my first order of business is to acknowledge public participation. On February 15th, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law a new session law extending certain COVID-19 related measures. The new law includes an extension until July 15th, 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Citizens with a question or comment can email mwalpole@walpole.k12.ma.us or middle school project at walpole.k12.ma.us. And thank you. Our first order of business is consideration and a vote on the meeting minutes from May 3rd, 2022. Do you have any questions or comments or a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion from Dr. Hahn. Do I have a second?
Second, Ben
All right, I have
Barrett.
a second from Mr. Barrett. Let me poll the committee. Mr. Friscia,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
very good. Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yep.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Did I miss anybody?
Katia, yes.
Ms. Taylor
Santiago
Very
Taylor,
good.
yes.
votes yes. Thank you. It is a vote. Our second order of business is the project status update from Compass. Chin, turn it over to you. Thank you.
Can you unmute?
The status of that land disturbance permit status is that we have the second meeting on May 11th after some, and then we also have met with the conservation staff as well as the third-party reviewer to go over item by item on all the items. And then we still have some outstanding item that we have submitted on May 18th, and that we expect the final meeting will be tomorrow, and that there's no, we are expecting that we should be able to get an order condition for the project. So we should be all set on, hopefully that we will bring you the good news after that. And that MSBA has issued the DD review comment, and that and all the issue, they're relatively minor issues, and that all of them has been addressed and responded to and submitted back to MSBA. And then that we are, and the team, Taipei, Fontaine, and as well as the Compass have prepared the early release schedule, which we will address today.
You muted, Chin. Chin, you're on mute again.
I'll let Fontaine Joe address the, just go over the early release package #1 in brief detail on the outlines of it.
Very good. Thank you, Jen. Evening, everybody. So up on the screen right now is documents some of you have seen so far, others might be new to. But basically, this is kind of an aerial view of the bird site with an outline in terms of what work we want to accomplish this summer as part of this early release site enabling package. So basically what we're aiming to get in this summer while the kids are out of school is going to be all the work that we need to prepare the site for construction. So there's very little of the work that's actually going to be part of the building per se, but it's everything we need to get done while the kids are out to make way for construction when construction wants to start. So there's some temp roadway construction. We have a temporary bus loop and a widening of the existing drive. We have to reestablish a parking area to serve bird school during construction. And also bring in our new construction entrance off of East Street at the top of the site there. So there'll be construction fence set up. We'll kind of set up our perimeter. We'll do some tree clearing to get the site ready. And everybody still hear me?
No, you kind of broke up there.
All right, so the existing power and water service that serve Bird Middle School.
Joe, you might want to turn off your video. It might make it easier.
Sure. All right, so the existing power and water service to Bird Middle School will get relocated this summer as well. And the oil tanks that are abandoned on site serving the former school will get pulled this summer too. So it's all work that we see as kind of being essential to allow the actual construction to take place. So this is what we're targeting to go after this summer as part of early bid package number 1.
I want to pause for a second. That want to make sure that there's no questions from the committee. Okay, since with no, I am not hearing any, that I'm just going to move on to go to the next item. On the early release package schedule and the and bid set, so that there will be, the project will be broken into four package. Package number 1 will be the enabling package, which is what Joe just went over, and that the approximate cost right now that is somewhere around 2.3 million or 2.5% of the total construction cost. Package number 2 is the site package plus the metal decking package, and that will be the metal decking material because this is a long lead item that we need to place the order ahead of time. This is all based on the meeting the opening of the new building for fall of 2024. In order to meet that schedule, we would need to place the order according to Fontaine Brothers' schedule. And with the site package and the decking package, that would come out to be approximately 11.7 million or 12.6% of the construction cost. Package number 3 will be the concrete foundation and steel roofing, door and hardware, windows, waterproofing, and elevator. Again, these are concrete and steel is to get an early start, and then but the rest of the items are due to the schedule in order to meet the final completion, and that is a cost at approximately 17.3 million, 18.7%. And then the final package will be everything else that's not included in 1, 2, and 3. And to show that in a more, and this is the basically everything that I just described with the additional in terms of the proposed approval dates here. And then the part that I want to point out to the committee is that, so with package number 1, which we are proposing to have the to come to the committee on June 28th, that represents about 2.5% of the project. And then with package number 2 at towards the end of August, plus the package number 1, that will total be about 15% of the total construction budget committed. And then package number 3 in middle of November would equate to total committed amount to be about 1/3 of the total project cost. And then the GMP will be January 31 is the proposed date, and obviously that represents the entire cost. And then this is the putting those dates in a linear fashion on a to show the schedule so that to show you when on the bottom are the dates that the package will be issued. On the top will be the approval dates that I just gone over. And then in here added is the MSBA submission dates that are required for the project. And then the star represent the proposed school building committee meeting dates to meet the overall schedule for basically from now to January of next year. I would pause for a second that if there's anything that committee has questions or comments.
I have a question.
Yes.
Jack,
I don't see it listed here. I've stated
Yep.
it more than a few times. What are your plans for submission for a site plan for this project?
Patrick, would you, is that something you want me to answer or?
Sure, Chin.
Well, at the moment that we were being informed that the town council stated that this is not, the project does not need to go through the zoning or site plan review. That's my
Okay.
understanding.
Thank you. I'm glad someone didn't want to tell me this. This is just beautiful. I go through this all the time. Jim, I'm not too happy about this. Every school that we have done since I've been on the committee since 1988 has gone through site plan because that's showing the neighbors. The neighbors were most adversely affected that they have some input. So now it's been decided in a smoke-filled room. I'm not too happy about this. Is my voice ignored through all these? Why didn't have someone have the, I know it's a public meeting, but the stamina to say, no, we're not going to do this. Not too happy about this. Is this a way just to get it away from what we've done in the past to do it under the cover? When I will say this, and it's been said around, I'll go into politics. This is the deep state doing stuff. No, we have done this for every school project that has come through the town because we have interested abutters to make sure that they're protected from this. That's all. But I guess we're going to bypass that. I don't got much else to say. Just beautiful.
if I could add, I was on the phone recently with an abutter. I told her she could share my phone number with anybody she wanted to. That's that. The other thing is, I brought this up with Jim and others, just listening to you. I think you know that I kind of like to listen to you. And he shared with me this legal ruling some time back. It's just never come up in a meeting intervening. And I think what's happened is the MSBA guidance, there's the old MSBA, which phased out, I want to say about 2008. And there's a whole new MSBA with a whole new set of guidances. And I think might explain why the old schools rules and regulations are different from the current schools. I don't know, but
No,
that's my understanding.
there is no change in the zoning laws. It's been like that in effect forever. It's schools allowed use, but this has been a courtesy. I repeat, a courtesy for the neighbors so that they can have their say or see what's going on. But I guess we don't care about the neighbors. We're just going to forge ahead and what still gets me, Mark, and I'll still say it, no one had, I don't want to say it, but I will at some point, to come up to me and say, we're not doing it. Well, is everybody running from me? Does my voice not matter? Was this, who voted not to do this? That's what I want to know. I didn't see the committee vote this. Selectmen have nothing to do with it. This is our committee.
I think, Jack, we could put it to a vote if you wanted to, frankly. I wouldn't have any objection to that.
Yeah, so I think the background is that it's part of kind of going through what permits are required for the project. Obviously, the school being allowed use under the Dover Amendment, certain items are precluded from review. I think the question was asked, what exactly did the project need to go through? Town council was asked for their opinion on the bylaws of whether or not the project was subject to site plan approval. They came back and said due to the educational use, they do not find it to be subject to site plan approval. But I understand your concern, Jack, with the neighbors.
No, it's
I
not
think
my
we need to-
concern, Brian. This is the way it's been done. And now all of a sudden a group decides we're gonna do it a different way. What's up with this?
Well, I don't think the group has decided or voted. I think it was just the opinion of town council that process.
I
was
could have
not
given
required.
that same opinion. I know it's under the Dover Act, but like I said, this has been called good neighbor. That's all it's been for over the years, just to show that you have some good faith to the people who are abutting this so that they can see what's going on, so they can understand. It has no bearing on the project, meaning nothing comes out of it typically, but it's something that is given to the neighbors, the abutters, to show them. I don't need town council's opinion for $1,000 to tell me it's a Dover Act. I could have given it to you for nothing. But I have said all along, this is for the neighbors. We're supposed to be neighborhood friendly, and I guess we're not. We've done it for everything else. So this is the first project. I guess we're not going to do it. Awesome.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Chin, anything next?
Mark, sorry, I had a quick question.
Oh,
This is
Ally,
Ally
right ahead.
Hamilton. So we've had some public forums. I hear Jack's concerns about the neighbors, and this is, I think news to me that this isn't going to go through planning board or zoning. And I understand under the Dover Amendment, but what else do we have for public hearings? I know we have had quite a few public forums for the neighbors and other, residents in town.
Yeah, so
The
currently
project-
it's gone, oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say that the project has had gone through 10 public forum already, and then what I have I did not put on here is that usually that there will be additional public forum that will be in this process as well. But those we have not yet scheduled. That we need to talk to the committee on when will be a good and we can certainly propose public forum, because that's a typical process to
Yeah, and Ally,
keep the community.
another option is the project has been going through the hearings with conservation. The town did do a third-party review of all the stormwater calculations as part of that permitting process. We have been meeting with the public departments regarding public safety, DPW, and engineering. And I think we're meeting with the building department regularly on a monthly basis to review the plans. But as far as meeting with the public, in addition to the community outreach forums, these meetings are actually public meetings and posted. However, we do have a placeholder on our regular meetings for the project to follow back up with some of the abutters, because they had raised some concerns at the initial stages of the project. So I think there's opportunity for the project either to meet with those abutters directly, or invite them to this forum to raise any concerns or make sure that their concerns are being addressed.
Could I add, Ally, on, so the third house up on Grasshopper, the three houses that are most immediately impacted, the family there, their daughter and my daughter went through school together, K to 12. So I haven't seen them much in years, but we knew each other very well. She and I were on the phone for quite a while, a couple of weeks ago, and I told her to give my personal email, my personal phone number to anybody that she wanted to. All I asked was that if they reached out to me, that they also reached out to the school building committee, just to kind of reinforce their point. And I haven't heard from anybody since then, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I feel that there's been due diligence of getting information out to the public. These are recorded meetings if someone wants to review them, and just making sure that that continues. So that
One
was all.
last thing. Can I have something from somebody that says we're not going to do it the way we've done it for the last 30 years? And this is why? Can I have that in writing from somebody, please? I think I deserve it.
Jack, I don't know who would give you that in writing. I'm not certain.
Well, who made the decision not to go forward? How's that?
Well, as I said, Jack, we could put it to a vote of the committee. But beyond that, I don't know what to recommend. I'd have to ask.
Then who decided to seek out town council's opinion? Let's start at the beginning.
I had some time ago, let me recall this, I try to follow up on the points that you make, Jack, and to kind of reinforce them. And I'm drawing a blank here. Sorry, Jim, forgot your name for a moment. Jim followed up and told me that they went to town council and got a ruling. I haven't thought much about it beyond that, but I just try to follow up on your objections, because that's the most interesting part, frankly, and that's where we are.
Okay, then, Mark, why wasn't I assume this was in writing. Why wasn't the building committee given copies of that?
Good point. I don't know, Jack. I think part of that might be, frankly, the fact that we meet through Zoom and we don't have the little sidebar conversations before and after the meetings. I think an awful
No,
lot.
but I'm saying if we got an official response from town council about this project, anything that comes in, I don't care who it comes from, it has to come in front of this committee, should have been part of one of the packages sent to us and part of the email.
That could be on me, Jack, because I know it was shared with me conversationally. I just don't know, in terms of agenda items and formalities.
So do we have an official letter from Copeland Page that said we don't have to do it?
I think there's a letter somewhere, Jack. I don't know, Jim, do you want to speak to this? I don't think Jim's on the meeting. Pat, I don't know.
Yeah, we can track down and update. I think the permitting matrix that we put together as part of the last package did not include the site plan approval. We can find out what was listed there, Jack. And then if needed, we'll we can add a narrative in the next submission just to clarify.
It seems very funny that we can't find an official letter from town council that said we don't have to do this. That should be right in everyone's folder. Now, if it wasn't shared with the committee, I expect it to be shared in administration, and I expect it to be shared with architects, engineers, and so on. So I don't think this is that hard to find.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll figure out what we have there, Jack, and we can put that together for part of the next submission package.
I'm going to sound, and I've been down this road for 30 something years here. I don't want a backdated letter. How's that? Because I'm not going to be too happy about that.
No, but I understand. So just so everyone is clear, you would agree that this project is exempt from the review, but we want to make sure that we have a process in place that we get feedback from the neighbors to make sure their concerns are addressed. And I think the only one that was really on the front burner that we had tabled until we had the design further developed was the design of the new driveway to East Street and what the landscaping and or hardscaping, if needed, might be along that road, which is something that I think TAPA's group is working on now. So we actually have somewhat of an update to share with neighbors. We can actually, they're working on like a cross section of what that's going to look like now that the grading and everything is being finalized.
Okay, this whole process is not correct. I had to bring it up again. Why did I have to bring it up again? With everybody in hopes that I wouldn't? I'm not being treated very fairly. I'm just being pushed aside. I want you to understand that. And I'm going to say it here. I don't get pushed aside, okay? I haven't done this since 1988 for shits and giggles here. And that's what I'm here for, to make sure everything's done right. And I don't like being hosed.
Jack, if I could ask you to try to rein it in a little bit, you're making your point.
Yeah, but no, Mark, no one's come. Everybody's danced around. Where's the letter? No one has a letter. Rein it in. Everybody's pushing me forward.
Jack, there's a letter.
I am
We'll
actually
get it to
going
you.
to. I am going to bow out. The level of disrespect is real. I do this as a volunteer, but I don't think anyone in this call deserves to be treated the way he's treating us all. Like, I'm out.
Jack, we get your point, but we just need to keep it more civil. That might be part of the difficulty
I
here.
believe I'm civil, but I also don't like being lied to or ducked or something, and I can't get a straight answer. If someone had sent it to me right now, I would have shut up, but I still can't seem to get it.
Jack, we'll get you the letter. I've seen it at some point. I don't have a copy of it though.
Yeah, we'll circle back. We'll make sure that the documents are reflective of that. And then we'll, obviously, we need to follow back with the neighbors along Grasshopper and East Street and set up that process.
Brian, it's not Grasshopper. Remember, everybody thinks it's just the final. You have the initial enabling that's affected people right there where you're coming out. It is, that's what everybody kind of forgets, is during this whole process. That's where they're most, what do you call it, affected with the traffic, the trucks and all that. That's the bigger one. I mean, afterwards, everybody can see how it's going, but the neighbors, especially down right there on East Street, right by the walkway in, there's another person that's going to be affected during this whole enabling. That's the bigger point. And that's something that I don't think gets enough attention. And I hope you guys have something. If you are going to do it with the neighbors, explain to them, not at the end. It looks pretty at the end, but during the construction, it's not very pretty for anybody.
No, understood, Jack. Yeah, the intent was that, Grasshopper obviously has the most initial concerns, but then looking at East Street, obviously for the remainder of the duration of the project, and then what is that, Edward there, the other cul-de-sac across from the path. So we'll make sure that those neighbors are all involved and notified as much as they want to be.
All right, continuing. Jen, do we have anything else under item 4? I lost track of where we were.
And
Yeah, we still need
just
to-
Yep. And here's the basically those dates in terms of the proposed the school building committee meeting dates, and then the approval that the team will be seeking for each step of the way, and then that get us to the guaranteed maximum price for the CM Everest contract for January 31 in 2023. And we would like to have the committee accept this. If the committee will be willing to accept the schedule, then so what happens is that then the issuing of these sets can move forward without further without introducing another meeting before the issuing of the packages. But each packages, we will be coming back to the committee to ask for approval for the cost and therefore change of contract to Fontaine Brothers contract.
So Chin, do you need some kind of a vote to accept that schedule?
Yes, that we would like to formally ask for a vote to accept the schedule. So that way we would then, we do not have to ask primarily that this is the one that has the most difficulty, that I'm trying not to add another meeting unnecessarily.
And would you bring the schedule back up again, please?
Do you want this schedule or this schedule?
That schedule, yeah.
Okay.
So big picture here is the project has always been preliminary laid out to have early release packages in order to begin work this summer, and then be able to begin pieces of work throughout this year as the CM is on board, in order to finish the project the summer of 2024 and start the school year of 2024 in the new building. So I think all of the preliminary schedules that we presented have had early release packages associated with them. Now that Fontaine is on board and kind of looking out to see what the procurement landscape looks like, what the lead times look like, in order to maintain that project schedule, these are the number of packages and the scopes, including in those packages, that Fontaine, along with TAP and Compass, are recommending to maintain the current project strategy of finishing the summer of 2024, opening fall of 2024. And the goal would be, if the committee is on board with this schedule, we wouldn't need to come back to you to kind of release the site plans for bidding. We would come back to you, we'd give you an update that the site plans have been released, but come back to you in August 23rd with the actual cost of the site packages, for approval of that. Each of these early packages will also have an amendment to Fontaine's contract. Right now, they just have a pre-construction phase, but then they're going to have an amendment for early release package number 1. We would then have another amendment for package number 2, an amendment for package number 3, and then finally a final amendment for the full guaranteed maximum price GMP sometime early next year. But we're just looking to make sure that the committee doesn't have any questions or concerns with this approach. This has been the approach all along. But we now just have the details behind it now that we have the Fontaine on board.
Ryan, I have a quick question. I believe on the timeline, you showed that the package number 3 was going to be ready at the end of September, and you're looking for us to approve it on November 8th. What happens between the end of September and November 8th? Does it go out for bid?
Yeah, Fontaine actually does all the pricing work associated with, so the documents get released 10/7 there. So the documents that they're going to be pricing, concrete, steel, roofing, windows, et cetera, would get released to those contractors. Fontaine would we'd actually end up bidding some of those. Some of those are filed sub. And Fontaine would bring all that pricing back. We'd be able to reconcile and put all that pricing together for approval by the committee in November.
But when we have the package on October 7th, there'll be a 90%, there'll be pricing associated with that. So we'll have an idea and we can update the estimates. And then on November 15th, we'll actually see the bids that come in with the final pricing.
Yeah, so part of this is we'll be doing estimating in parallel while Fontaine is actually buying some of this stuff out. So we actually have real numbers as part of putting these estimates together. That is a positive. And if you have more questions on that, then Joel or Dave can speak to that.
So
Brian, I was going to bring up basically what you kind of talked through already, that when we looked at this, we tried to look at it with where the submissions fell and where the cost estimates fell to try to make sure that we were getting the cost estimates done before most of these packages went out to bid. And then also, as Brian said, to get the live numbers. So that's kind of how everything got set up for these dates based on when the cost estimates would go out, when we'd get the numbers back from the cost estimator, when we get the reconciliation done, and how to take care of any VE if it had to come up again.
So prior to the approved, we'll have an estimate for 60% somewhere in the around here. And then so before the ER number 2 is released, we will have the 60% estimate in hand by that point. And similarly, because the ER number 3 would go out when we issue the pricing set. So there will be a cost estimate definitely by November 1, and therefore that you would be able to review the cost against the estimate before you approve it. So that was part of the strategy and the scheduling.
We kind of backtracked off of the MSBA submission dates to kind of get this all worked out so that we had enough time in between to get their review comments as well in case if we need to make any changes.
Okay. Basically what you're saying is during that, from the time that the package is done until the time that we get the final bids, during that 3 or 4 week period of time, we'll be able to take a look at your estimates and see, are we going to have to do some additional fine tuning and value engineering because with the estimates, because we think it's going to come in too high, or vice versa, maybe we think it'll come in low and we've got a little bit of slack on the other side. So that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jack. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. Brian?
Yes.
Yeah. When the bid packages come in, you're gonna lay them out in front of us, bidders 1 through 4, correct? Whatever.
Yeah, there'll be leveling sheets for each scope of work. So we'll
Okay.
actually see all the pricing and how they line up.
All right, and basically, you're gonna have everybody apples to apples, so our approval is kind of simple. You're going with the low guy, correct?
It doesn't necessarily have to be the low guy. Typically it is. I mean, if there's a compelling reason why it would be the second guy for some reason, but typically it would be the low guy, yes.
Yeah, I mean, if these are filed subs,
I mean, if it's
doesn't
filed
matter.
subs, it is. Yeah, filed subs, it is what it is. If it's
It is
not a
what it
filed
is.
sub like the site guy, then obviously, there'd be a conversation if for some reason it wouldn't be the low guy.
Okay, so I would expect that whoever's invited, non-filed sub would be qualified to do the work and that there would be no issues. A long time ago, I was told by corporation we work for, don't ever bring anybody that you don't think can do the job, because if they're low, we're gonna pick them. And that would be the case with me too. Don't bring some to the table you don't think can do the job or doesn't have it all.
Yeah, we, I mean, per contract, we vet and have to approve all the subs that Fontaine wants to get pricing from. I mean, from a site package and steel package perspective, I think we know all the players to begin with, but yeah, we have final approval of who they're bidding.
Yeah, this is
One
Joel
last
at
question.
Fontaine. We definitely hear that concern, Jack, and we'll have a qualified and competitive group to choose from.
Okay, the final, well, I don't say final, Brian, but the question, I'm looking at your package 3, where you got roof, elevator, and waterproof, and you will have enough at this point that we shouldn't have an issue down the road, nothing should change?
You have enough of the design, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, an elevator is an elevator, you waterproof.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna be
damp-proof.
at 90% there, so it's gonna be pretty darn close. I mean, you're gonna be as close as you can get without waiting for the full set. So we feel pretty comfortable. We're moving roofing up. You know, roofing is something you could even do potentially earlier. Again, but you kind of run the risk of, you know, maybe some square footage changing between 60 and 90. So, and again, the roofing is strictly in, these are all in there, roofing and windows are strictly in there for the long lead items. Waterproofing obviously needs to be in there because we're releasing foundation concrete. So we want to make sure they're on board when those things start going. So yeah, we feel pretty confident 90% set is a good early release set to go off of.
And then also, this is in the team, and I say the team work together between Fontaine and Taipei's team to get to the point that everybody feels comfortable that Fontaine's team feels that at 90% they should be able to get these package in a condition that will be reasonable for the bidding process.
No, I agree. The only potential, I think you guys know it would be windows. Elevators and elevator, damp proof and waterproof and roof and that
Yeah.
the windows might be the only, but you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah, the details around windows are tricky. Obviously, they won't have anything final till they do shops, but it's always the window details that are kind of the last things to come out.
We will
So
have
we'll
to
make sure that.
Yeah, we'll have to push Taipei to focus on finishing the window detail for the 90% set, and that's the way it will have to be, and then that's what that's what Taipei's team agreed to.
I know. One last question. I keep saying that. I know the way things are going now. I heard today that electronic gear can be a year. Roofing is tough. Is any of that, and this would be for Fontaine, is that any of that anticipated to go out ahead of time? How would that fit in these bid packages, or when would you consider that?
So the roofing specifically, we pulled forward to the 90% set specifically to deal with that lead time concern on some of the flat roofing materials. As far as the electrical gear, those lead times are difficult. The thought of trying to pull the electrical filed sub bid package into an early release package is not it's something that we've certainly considered, and not something that I think we could do without introducing a lot more risk than anybody would necessarily want to. So the getting the electrical filed sub bid on is going to be probably top priority, and getting that gear submitted and released is going to be submittal number one coming out of the filed sub bids.
And the other issue there is that Joe was being very conscious of what the cumulative committed dollar amount, because basically once you committed, then you don't have room to move. You are committed on those dollars.
And the last thing, Joel, you guys had talked about bar joist decking. Is that still a problem or not?
Yeah. So the joists, we actually don't have much in the way of joists out here. So that is kind of a null concern. But the decking, we've showed here going off the 60% set. And basically what we would do is we would competitively bid to the deck suppliers. And then when we bid out the steel package later on, we would basically have a bid package and say, this is, our low bidder for steel decking that you'll be carrying and working with. We've done that on a couple of projects successfully since these lead times have blown up, and propose to do the same here.
Okay, now, since you've done that, and I had this experience in the MWRA when they're trying to buy a $4 million piece of equipment, and I says, is that guy bondable? And they kind of didn't know what was up. I know you're gonna have to work it out with your steel guys, but I assume you guys are gonna have some arrangements that the deck guy won't like disappear.
Yeah, so there are very limited deck suppliers that would be qualified to serve a project like this, but we would have all assurances taken care of that we would have product when we needed it. So the other piece, Jack, is that we would we would have the competitive pricing. We would be able to get basically a spot in line, and we would not actually have to give the full. We wouldn't have to pay up front or anything for the decking or anything like that. We would have basically a spot in line with one of those manufacturers.
Okay, and I've been dealing with it on a bunch of projects that are going out till 2025. We floated something out to one of the owners, haven't heard back. Is in order to avoid this big time escalation, is make the deal now and have them sit in a warehouse or something to that effect. It might be worth looking at just to see, and it'll be and actually our call to see, is it worth what we're gonna save or not? Because some of the stuff I've had reinforcing go up $300-400 a ton, and if you could lock it in today and they get their deal signed, you're saving probably 25%.
Yeah, so I think where we have the decking in particular, are you talking reinforcing for concrete and et cetera?
Nah, not so much
Just any
reinforcing. I
kind of
know, but
materials?
if you guys go out and buy the deck or like that, if they make the deal and it's all done, and you do the stored materials and that option in the bid.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the deck pricing that we'll get from those guys, Jack, when they bid it off of those early documents will be locked in at that time.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I would take a motion to approve the proposed schedule from Compass as visible on your screen and explained in your packet. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, motion from Ms. Hamilton. I have a second from,
That's Bill Hahn.
okay, Dr. Hahn. Let me hold the committee here. Ms. Gaositz,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Frisha,
Yes.
Mrs. Gallivan,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Who did I miss? Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody else? And I vote yes, it is a vote. Very good. Our next order of business, let me take a peek at my agenda here, is to vote to approve the vendor invoice package for April 2022. Do we have any questions about the vendor invoice package? Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve the vendor invoice package from April of 2022.
So moved.
All right, motion from Dr. Hahn. Who was the second?
Nancy Gallivan?
Second for Ms. Gallivan. We pull the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan,
Yes.
Ms. Gaositz,
Yes.
Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Dr. Hahn,
Yes.
and I vote yes, it is a vote. Next item on here, I believe, is Fontaine, a review of the proposed summer work.
Mr. Chairman, I rearranged the schedule on the agenda, so Fontaine already done that.
Okay,
So I believe the remaining one is just simply TAP A.
Okay, very good. The 3-week look ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna move ahead here. Basically, we reviewed this already. The MSBA review comments came in TAP A and the Compass, and we returned them. As Chin said, most of them were very minor, asking for us to acknowledge stuff to be added for the next package, some clarification on the release packages, and that we should submit them in the next submission, and then some coordination questions. We can pass them along to everybody if they would like to review them. Moving on, we discussed at the last working group meeting the proposed locations for the crosswalks on East Street. There's 3 locations. There's one up here to the north. So this is the access drive, the bus loop coming in here from East Street. There's one proposed location north of the entry at Beth Road. The second proposed location was directly along the sidewalk, kind of heading slightly down to the south, and that was coordinated with the locations of the driveways. And then a third location was further down, kind of at the corner here. And based on discussions with the working group, the recommendation was to move forward with option 2, which is directly off of the sidewalk. Based on the location, it adds less cost to the project, and that is most likely, no matter where we put the crosswalks, where the kids are going to cross, even if we don't have a crosswalk. So that is the proposed location that we are currently moving forward with. Any questions? Okay, otherwise I will move on. We also discussed with the working group the proposal of the temp driveway becoming permanent after construction was complete. The recommendation from the working group based on the discussion was to not keep this as a permanent drive. One of the main concerns, which was also brought up by our traffic consultant, was the possibility if that remote road remains in place, it would be a cut through across the site, and we'd really have to control how that is being used during school hours and after school hours to kind of avoid that traffic. So what was brought up was we have to have gates kind of similar that we have now that would need to be opened on an everyday basis, which could cause some operational issues. There was additional cost because right now we are having to prepare only temp rainwater storage and drainage in this area since this is a temp roadway. So we've got some basins and swales going in, which we sent over to Concom. And if this stays in as permanent, we need to put some permanent drainage with piping and everything else, which would be additional cost. And then finally, the last thing that came up was the separation of the bus traffic from the parent traffic. Currently, the new drive that will be coming in from East Street is the bus loop. So that keeps all the bus traffic completely separated from the traffic of the parents coming in for drop off. If that remains, you're going to have your buses countermingling with the traffic of the parents coming in, which is one of the things we tried to avoid in the design. Any questions on this before we move on?
I would add, Matt, I remember from the traffic study and just common sense that temporary road there is so close to High Plain that it's a real tough corner in terms of how fast cars come around there. So it's going to be tough just for even in a temporary situation, but a permanent situation would be real tough.
And yeah, we reached out to our traffic consultant, and there would be an additional cost as well of $4,000 to kind of complete the study based on the information that we already kind of have collected. So they would have to review that, and based on that information as well, we decided, the working group decided not to move forward with this option. Okay,
Questions
moving
or
on.
comments? All right.
Thanks, Mark. Moving on to the 3-week look ahead. Right now, the 4th of May, we're wrapping up the building committee meeting. As previously noted, we have hopefully the final Concom meeting tomorrow to get the land disturbance permit, another working group on Thursday. And then we have our monthly meeting with the building inspector on Friday morning. And we'll also be issuing the ER1 package as previously noted on Friday as well. Moving on to the following week, which is the end of May, beginning of June, we've got the holiday on the 30th. Otherwise, we are continuing on with the next package, which is the 60% cost estimate. So we're doing the coordination with consultants and continuing the detailing for that package. We'll also be going through and reviewing any comments or questions that are coming in from the bidders, so we can start addressing them in any addenda that needs to be issued. And then we also have the brick sample boards. They should be delivered to us sometime this week. So we will deliver them to Town Hall at some point before the end of next week, so that you guys can take a look at them and let us know your comments and reviews on them. And then finally, moving into the second week of June, again, we are trying to wrap up some security coordination that we had previously in a meeting with the district. There's some outstanding questions there that we're going to try to get wrapped up. And then after we have those issues addressed, we will look at scheduling the next security meeting with the district, and then also with all the first responders of the town, kind of get everything wrapped up and finalized based on the meetings with our security consultant and the town and everybody else. And continuing on with the 60% estimate package. Again, any issues that come up from bidder questions, we will continue to address them. And then finally, issue the addenda probably that last Friday of the week. And then the next working group meeting is also scheduled on the 9th. And I think that's it. And again, we also discussed how the next school committee meeting, building committee meeting will be on 6/28. That is all I have, unless anyone has any other questions.
Any final questions or concerns? Hearing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, Mark, I did have one question there.
All right, Ben, go right ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was not quick enough on the mute
No
button.
worries.
We talked a little bit about the next public outreach meetings, and I was trying to read this on my phone, and I couldn't read in that schedule there in the weeks ahead if we had a rough date for that. I know it was on the timeline maybe that was shared like 40 minutes ago. We have a ballpark on that is my question.
I think we previously discussed June, but I don't think we have a date set yet, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That's correct. We were targeting June with the district. One last update before the summer work, but we haven't set a date yet.
Okay. All right. So there's one more week left in May. So if we're going to do that, and I think, people are, and I'm not breaking any ground here, but people are going to be, leaving town, summer starts. So if we could set that date as soon as possible, I think that would encourage additional attendance, and then it would also allow everybody to get the information out there to folks and to the abutters and the neighbors. It seems like we're cutting it a little bit close at this point.
Thanks, Ben. Any other questions or comments? I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Barrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Gaositz. Let me pull the committee. Mr. Frisha,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan,
Yes.
Ms. Gaositz,
Yes.
Dr. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy, Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It is a vote. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night now. Take care.